always like a pipe dream. It was one of those like, it'd be really cool if we owned a game store. And I was like, yeah, it'd be really cool. And he's like, I've got the money. I need your Magic collection.
Mentioned it before, but your collection sounds very impressive. What, if you were to put a price on that, about how big was that collection?
So the last time I personally inventoried my collection, not the shop collection, was in like 2021, and it was over 150K. Because when I went into this, I was going with the expectation that we weren't going to make money until 3 years, and that's clearly not the case. So like my expectations of that are blown.
Already blown out.
Already blown.
Welcome to the podcast, guys. You don't know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. This is the second time we're conducting this interview because I'm a moron. I'll go into that another time, but we'll go ahead and jump in. Now we're talking with Bennett Mosteller. He is the owner of a local gaming store, Final Boss Games. So first, how you doing today? How's it going? Last time we came in a little bit earlier, so there wasn't as much going on, but we've got people playing here. We've got people checking out your merchandise, and it's a cool environment. You know, I told you this last time. I really dig both the aesthetic and like the fact that whenever you come into the two sides of the stores, there's two different vibes going on. You have the back here where people can play and do, you know, whatever they came to do essentially, but then you also got the other side over here where, you know, I don't know if we can see it on camera, but some of the Warhammer and the Magic the Gathering and just different things that you can purchase over here. Really cool vibe, man. But yeah, tell us a little bit about it, a little bit about yourself. Give us some background on Bennett.
Yeah, so I've been in this industry for over a decade now, 12 years. Yeah, that's when I first started playing Magic. I got into it because one of my friends that I worked with at a previous job wanted to show me how to play the game. And then I remember after he taught me, like really getting into it. So I bought some cards off of like a local collection from like Craigslist or whatever. And we kind of delved into that and started to learn how to play the game more than the starter deck we had. And I remember we were looking for local game stores in this area. And we found one. It was called Explode Technology. It's long since closed now. But we started going there because that was the only local game store in this area. There was another in Rogers, Bentonville area. But as far as like Fayetteville, Springdale goes, that was the only one at the time. And we started getting more involved with that store. I helped out a lot there as well. And then eventually that store broke off and made another, or the partners broke off and made a new store called Galaxy Games, which that one closed in 2014. And I helped out a lot there. That's where I really got involved in the Magic scene as far as like playing more competitive events, running stores and stuff like that. And then when that place closed, then I officially got a full-time job at Gear Gaming in Fayetteville. And I worked there at the Fayetteville and the Bentonville location for almost 8 years. And then last year in July is whenever I parted ways with that job and started working towards this. Because this is something that I've been talking about with one of the other owners, Remington, about for, I don't know, a decade now. It was always like a pipe dream. It was one of those like, it'd be really cool if we owned a game store. And I was like, yeah, it'd be really cool. And he's like, I've got the money. You know, I need your Magic collection. And that wasn't something I was really ever willing to give up as a hoarder. But, you know, we finally came together and I was like, you know, were you being serious about that? And he's like, yeah, I just need your Magic collection. I was like, okay, I think it's time. Like, I think I want to actually pursue this, you know, and do it our own. And I think he was a little shocked there because I was such a hoarder. And I didn't even use any of these cards personally. I would just like collect cards to build decks for other people so they could play. And like I had a system in place where I would pick up cards and build decks for people. They would pay into the events and borrow my decks, but then the store credit they win would go in back into my pool. So then I would use that store credit to buy more cards and build more decks for more people, and then just kind of just surplus a collection that way, which is kind of crazy how fastly it grew
Yeah.
doing that.
So that was over since 2014, you'd say, about a decade that
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
working on
yeah.
that.
About a decade.
Yeah, that is very impressive, and you've mentioned it before, but your collection sounds very impressive. What if you were to put a price on that? About how big was that collection?
So the last time I personally inventoried my collection, not the shop collection, was in like 2021, and it was over 150K. But I didn't have everything. Like it was practically all inventoried, but my collection has grown since then,
Right.
like absorbently. I know physically in our shop inventory, we have 120K worth of cards inventoried, and we have like a whole other full shelf in the back of cards that just aren't cataloged yet. And that's not counting cards for my personal collection, because I did keep some decks and cards. Like I made sure, because I still enjoy playing the game as much as
Right.
I like being an owner. I want to be able to play it still, but I kept cards enough to for my me and my girlfriend to have a deck in every format. Like I wanted to make sure that we could still
At
play.
least one in
Yeah.
every. So, and I don't know as much about Magic. I was more into Yu-Gi-Oh. And I was with it for a long time. Still have a collection. It's not nearly as impressive as a $150,000 one. But I really enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh. I've recently been getting into D&D. But yeah, there's just something so appealing to a lot of people about, group gaming and tabletop gaming that I think you guys, you know, it, you strike a chord with your fan base by, like I said, the setup alone I think is exactly what the community likes. Like, give us our area to do our thing,
Yep.
and we'll come over into your area
Yep.
when we're ready. So that's a fantastic business model, if nothing else. But so I've asked you this before. Pretty much everything today will be a kind of a repeat. But what do you do here as the owner? Your portion
Mhm.
as a co-owner.
So as far as my role in the shop, I handle a lot of the day-to-day events. I usually have someone else that helps me run those. I do pretty much all of the ordering, like 90% of our orders. I handle as far as like restocks, pre-release events, stuff like that. I'm constantly making new events for everything that I handle, because Trevor does all the Pokemon stuff. I handle as far as like creating events and stuff like that goes. But I handle like I make once a month we do a win a card event. Um, we have done I think four now, where we put up original dual lands from revised edition, and those go anywhere from like $300 to $800. Uh, and it also like condition varies that price as well. But like the first one we did, we put up a $300 card, a plateau, and we had 60 people show up for that one. And I didn't advertise that one pretty good, or I'd say at least I shared it out with like local groups in this area.
Right.
But we had people all the way from like 5 hours away, like Oklahoma area,
Wow.
drive in for that. And then the next one we had, the next couple we had got lower and lower attendance, but even at 40 people, like that's still really good, because we charge
Right.
$30 entry for these events, and we make sure that we don't necessarily put 100% of the pay in into the price pool, but because we want to make sure we make a little bit of money. But like if we make like $100 or $200, like we're solid. Like like we've been getting upwards of $1,500 in entry, and I don't need to keep all of that.
Right.
I mean the first event we did the plateau for first place. Then we had the Warhammer 40K deck, like commander decks. We had one of each in foil, and we gave top four of those in addition, and those are like $150, 200 range. And then for the top 16, we gave them a collector pack of from a set called Commander Masters, and those are $50 each. So we made sure to make a little bit, and then we just dumped it all in with product we had at the store, and we've been pretty good at doing that as well as as we're able to. And then we just had one for a tropical island at the first of this month, the third of this month, and then excuse me, and then at the end of this month, we have one for a bayou, and that one, both of those are in the $400 to $500 range. And then next month, I'm putting up another card called a Mox Diamond. That card's like $500. So I'm making sure to put up these high end, well sought after cards that people really want. And whenever I schedule these events, I make sure to do as best as I can to not overlap with any of the other stores in this area, especially the local ones. But I even look upwards as 2 hours away to make sure I'm not like overstepping or crossing paths or anything like that. Because when you claim to be for the community, you have to do that in your actions as well.
Right.
Like I want to make sure that my community can go to as many of these events as they physically want to or can. There are some things that like pre-releases where you can't help,
Right. You
or
can't.
your Friday Night Magic events, you can't help that. That I'm not worried about,
But
but the big events that I'm physically going out of my way to schedule, I want to make sure they don't
yeah, I don't
overlap.
want you to miss this over here
Yeah.
because you need to come 2 hours this way
Yeah.
and do this.
Well, and like at the end of the day, I'm still a player too. So
Right.
like I want to make sure I can go to some of these events too.
Right. Yeah.
But the cool thing about
Yeah.
making my events is that if there's one I want to go to, I control all of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, being uh, I'm sure being an co-owner of this, running that especially
Oh yeah.
gives you a lot of perks and a lot of benefits to your scheduling for sure. Uh, but let's kind of move on into some just general overall likes and dislikes
Sure.
for this sort of business. Like, what's some things that coming in maybe you thought you would enjoy more? What's something that you feel like has kind of been the worst to deal with and disliked the most about starting up this business?
Yeah. I think we said it last time where like it's two sides of the same coin. It's always the customer.
Right.
The best and the best thing and the most that I look forward to is the customers. I really like interacting with all the new people that come in and the returning faces and stuff like that. It's what I look forward to almost every day. But also on the same side of that coin, customers can be the worst part of this job at times, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah. I imagine so. I mean, just in normal everyday life,
oh yeah.
you run into people that you enjoy meeting and have a great time, but you also can find people that you know it was nice meeting them once, and you're good with
Oh
that.
yeah, I've had some very interesting customers come into here, and just in my lifehood of being in retail service, there's been a lot of really interesting faces.
Well, it's good to hear that. You know, met- for someone who's an owner and like a lot of your job is going to be interacting with your customers for this, uh, this kind of business is going to be very customer
Oh
oriented.
yeah.
So, of course, my hope for you is that it continues to be, mostly good interactions, but
Yeah.
that I guess it just kind of comes with the job. You're gonna have some people you're grateful for their business.
Yep.
But kind of on that same vein, what is something you wish people kind of understood about your job that maybe you think they take for granted or um, they wouldn't expect you to have to do or may not think about themselves and owning, a business like this?
A lot of the things is like being aware of like personal surroundings, like picking up after yourself, keeping the area as clean or better than like you found it. Like that's one thing I wish people are a little bit more aware about, but I don't expect people to do that. So that I clean up the messes, you know. But
Right.
that would be that would make my job a lot easier, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I don't think that's too much to ask. I think, from mostly from a very young age, a lot of us are taught, take care of your area. I'm terrible at it at home, but I try to be better about it whenever I'm out and about, throw my trash away, pick it all up, move it. Think it wouldn't be that hard. Like accidents and things happen and
Yeah,
then like that you expect that, but it's like you really can pick up your hamburger wrapper and throw it away. Like, you walked past the trash can as you were
yeah,
leaving, like yeah, but yeah, I can definitely understand that. It kind of goes with the different kinds of customers but uh, anyway, we'll kind of move on from that. um we've already kind of discussed this started as a passion for you.
hmm
um One of the questions I intend on asking, a lot of people is this for passion or is this for profit? I think for you, we've kind of discussed it before, but you're already seeing a profit, and
hmm
uh, which is pretty unheard of because this
yeah.
is what you're still not even a year old,
Yeah, we
correct?
just celebrated our 6th month. Yeah, we're a little over our 6th month now, like 6 months and 10 days, something like that. But yeah, most local game stores, as far as like the average game store goes, don't start to see a profit until about the third year into it, just because you're constantly uh, repouring that money back into more product and upgrading things here and there and buying pre-releases and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean, we've only been open 6 months and we're already starting to see a good profit too, which is unheard of.
Right. And I think most businesses in general don't see any kind of profit for 3 years.
Yeah.
So, like, hearing that you guys are already within 6 months, and like, I think you've already, I don't think those over there were here
Yeah,
last
yeah,
time I was
those
here.
Lorcana banners. Yeah, that's
And like,
the
I haven't been gone that long. Like,
yeah, it's a
so
couple of weeks. Yeah, the new set came out for Lorcana, and those were some of the promotional materials they added were those banners. And I've had a lot of my players want me to give them to them, and I was like, no, no, I'm putting those up. I'm decorating my store with those. Those are too cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw them. I saw Stitch. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
It was really cool. Like I said, I feel like this place, the longer you guys are open, the more you're going to evolve, the more,
yeah,
we can expect to see, happen here. I said it before. You have murals, you have some really cool ones. We'll have pictures up whenever we post a video, but you have like a tribute to Bowser over here.
yeah.
Uh, you've got Red, and that's Cynthia, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
Red and Cynthia with
yeah,
their Garchomp and Charizard fighting.
yeah.
There's like Mewtwo up in
Yeah,
the
Mewtwo's like hidden up there as a
yeah,
little Easter egg, just
yeah.
witnessing the battle. It's just really cool. Like I said, it's a whole vibe,
Yeah, we've
and
got Nico Bolas in that corner for Magic, and then Ragnaros from 40K. Like my girlfriend Melody, she did the Bowser one. My younger sister, she did Ragnaros, and then we have Zach. He did the Pokemon scene, and then we have got another girl, Kinsey. She did Bolas. So all of these were local people. It's not like I contracted, out of state people. These are people who physically come to my store.
yeah, and that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Like that's I think that's something that a lot of people can appreciate, the local that reaching out to local talented people who, have a love for what you're doing and want to participate in it
yeah.
in some way, shape or form. So it's really awesome to see. Um, I kind of touched on it a little bit with the dislike, but maybe more so than the dislike of things you've had to deal with so far. What's been the biggest challenge you feel like you, or maybe the entire company has faced in starting this business?
Challenge. Hmm. I don't think anything that I've had to deal with has been terribly challenging or anything I would consider a challenge. I mean, there are things of this business that we've had to deal with that I am not well versed in, but that's why I had Trevor and Remington. I knew what I was getting into when we were doing this. I don't know anything about money. I don't know anything about contracts, about business end of things. So that's why I have Remington.
Right.
He's really good with money. He's good at looking contracts over. I miss the fine print, and then as far as like construction goes, that's why I had Trevor. I'm not good with heights. I hate ladders. If I'm more than 3 rungs high, I'm unstable as a person. I can't do it. I hate heights. So Trevor did all of the construction as far as like putting in. You can't really see them, and I have a hard time finding them. But there are speakers in our ceiling.
I
Uh,
mean, I hear them.
yeah, yeah, you
I
can hear
hear
them,
the music,
but
but yeah, you're right.
I
It's
can't.
hard to
It's hard to
spot them.
tell which is a vent and which is a light sometimes. But
I think maybe that one
yeah, I
right
think that's one right
beside in the
there
center.
where that's just a speaker
Oh, and
panel.
I can see them
Yeah, yeah, and
going at a
he's the one
diagonal.
that put all the wiring and put all those up. He's the one that mounted all the TVs and made sure they were secure. And like all of us did all the painting. I think the hardest part about this store was the carpet because there was a night that me and Trevor rented one of those floor cutters, carpet cutter machines, and like because the carpet that was in here before was that like 1980s brown scratchy kind of carpet. That's the best way to describe it. It was just gross and it looked like it had never been cleaned. And so we had to cut it up. But from mid no, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon till like 2 a.m. Me and Trevor were in here and we had knives and that cutter machine and we were going at it and we got like from from the play area to the back of the room barely all the way cut up and that was like 12 hours worth of work and
Man,
it wasn't easy because the glue that they had on this floor, like I'm not a glue expert, but it was like this like brown wavy textured glue, like tile glue almost. Or at least that's what I would equate to. So like this carpet was like really like dug into there and it was like a pain to just get up. Like the guy who we got to contracted to do our floor, he was in here at one point with an ATV. And like he got an ATV through the doors and he cut up like a patch and then like clamped to that patch and then hooked that up to his ATV and was trying to just go forward and just hard rip it up and even that like wasn't doing anything. It was like the most random thing ever because like I don't remember if we had cameras up or if Trevor came down, but he like we got a message from him. He's like, "There's an ATV in our store." And I remember thinking, like, because I wasn't here, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, the floor guy brought an ATV in the store to try to rip up the carpet, and it's not working. What? He just sent us like pictures of everything, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. But he eventually went and rented one of those like industrial like floor cutter machines, and even that was he was having a hard time with. So like whoever did the floor in here was like awful. Like I want to know who did it because they did a terrible job, and it was a nightmare. But we I think we paid like $19,000
Oh,
to get the floors
man.
where they're at, and I've this has been the unhappiest part I personally have is our floors. You can't really tell if you don't like know what you're looking for, but like just seeing like cracks and things that were supposed to be filled in that weren't. But it kind of fills into the aesthetic in a way.
Yeah, that's what we did talk about this before, and I feel like the it does have like a cracky, rocky looking
Yeah,
texture to it, and so it's like it kind of works with the aesthetic.
yeah,
We were discussing the mural a minute ago, and it has
yeah,
cracks, like you're viewing it through the wall, kind of thing,
yeah. Like there's a
and
break
so
in
it
the
kind of fits the aesthetic.
yeah,
Uh, Very much, especially for a Dungeons and Dragons kind of
yeah.
feel. I think it fits the aesthetic
Yeah,
really well.
I think it does. And also, like I've pointed it out to several people, and they're like, I can't even see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even notice it until you said something. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's so unnoticeable, but as someone like who'd had to deal with that, it's
It
like I
sticks
think
out like a sore thumb.
it's like my biggest annoyance as far as anything in the shop is the floor.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot to have to go through and a lot to have to put up with.
Yeah,
At least you got it done, got through it, got
yeah.
out the other side. I don't see it hampering business at
No,
all.
no, it definitely
Uh,
hasn't at this point.
uh, but another thing I want to kind of touch upon while we're kind of in the same vein is what's been your expectations? What were kind of the expectations when you were discussing, starting up this shop and everything? And what's some things like, does the reality meet kind of match up with what you thought it would be, or is it significant? It doesn't seem like it's significantly different, but is there
Yeah.
some things that you were like, man, I thought this would be a lot smoother, or this is way smoother than I expected, or
As far as my expectation goes, um, everything is pretty on par, if not doing better than what I had expected. Because when I went into this, I was going with the expectations that we weren't going to make money until 3 years, and that's clearly not the case. So like my expectations of that are blown,
already blown out
already
the water?
blown. As far as like getting players in here, like I was pretty confident we wouldn't have a hard time with that. My pre-releases have kind of blown my expectations. Like we did Bloomborough this not last weekend. It's been like a couple weeks now. I don't remember. It's been a couple weeks. But the newest Magic set, Bloomborough, came out, and we had the biggest Friday night pre-release in this area. And there's a total of five, one, two, three, four, five stores in this area. We had 74 people for our Friday night pre-release, which I think that was more than double from any other shops. Which like all the other stores had really good attendance. I think it
Right.
was an average of like 30 players per other store, which is like really good. But because the fact that we had 74 people in here blew my mind. Like our other pre-releases, we had like I think we had like 28 and then 18 for the next one, which was like pretty decent numbers.
Right.
But our Friday blew my mind. It's so much. We had so many people in here that it caused me to up my numbers for the next pre-release that comes out, Dustborn. I got like we typically get 8 cases of pre-release kits, which there's 15 kits in a case, and I upped it to 11. So I think I'm preparing for at least 80 people for my next pre-release if the trend persists. Which for our first pre-release we did Murders of Karlov Manor, we had 45 people here, and then the next it was like 60 something, and so like it's only
It's
grown
grown.
since
Yeah.
we've done it. So I'm planning for 80, so I got 80 for one event, 40 for another, and 45 for another. So hopefully that's enough. But if it's not, I'm not going to be upset because I'd rather sell through it and then have than have leftovers.
Right.
But if we sell through it, then I mean I'm just going to order more.
Right.
So like that's blowing my expectations a little, especially with like our first one, because we actually got approved to be a Magic store, a WPN store. Um,
Is this is that what we were discussing before that you
yeah,
were getting?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh well, that was a little bit different.
Okay.
So we got approved to be a WPN store like 2 days before we officially opened.
Okay.
And they also approved us to host our pre-release that same weekend, which we weren't opened yet when we got approved. And it is unheard of from Wizards of the Coast to approve stores before they're opened. Like that just I have never seen that happen. And I've been in this industry for over a decade. I've seen stores rise and fall. Like I've never seen stores before they're opened get approved and be able to do a pre-release within 2 days of being approved. They told us, like as long as you're able to get, pre-release kits and stuff like that, you can host a pre-release. And I was like, I already have them on ordered. So like we're good there.
We're good. We're set up.
Like even if we weren't going to host a pre-release, I'm still ordering the kits because the new set came out literally that weekend. So that was really cool. But what you're referring to, I actually submitted a video last week for getting premium from Wizards of the Coast. You with being premium, you get a little bit more. You get cooler accessories and the little trinkets here and there. It changes with every set. But one of the big things is that you get featured on like search results. Whenever people look for stores or events, you also get access to, and this is the thing I'm really excited about, is hosting double invites for regional championship qualifiers. And for the people who really grind like big events, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm aware, there's only 2 other stores that are premium in Arkansas. And that's Game Goblins in Little Rock and in Conway. I'm pretty sure the Conway location is premium, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right.
But I know
So
the Little Rock
you
one is.
definitely have not a monopoly, but
Yeah,
you have you're linked into the exclusive club
yeah, yeah.
for sure. So that would be really. So you haven't heard back yet
Not
whether.
not yet. He told me my rep messaged me yesterday and said if I don't hear back from him Friday, to poke at him. But I sent the walkthrough video, so hopefully it's good. So I'm a little nervous for the reply on that one because it's something that me and Remington both really want. And when we before we even did any construction on this store, we we did every design layout, everything that involved this was making sure that it was on par with premium. So if we do get it, like that's just kind of our dreams kind of lining up with everything that we'd hoped for. So I'm really excited for that.
I think that goes to show you, like, not only is it good to have like the short term goals, but having your long term goals already kind of set as well,
Yeah.
because you're as you entered the stages of opening up your own shop, like you had those future plans already in mind, and thankfully you didn't have to adjust much.
Yeah.
Like you were like, I already know that I eventually want this. I already know that eventually we want to push for this. Let's go ahead and start setting up things appropriately for that
Yep.
transition or for that next level we want to push to. But it's also good to know that even once you've achieved, you're setting new goals. You have new
Yeah.
goals lined up that you can push towards, and that way you can always continue the growth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of little things that like I was very aware of that like no, we're gonna have to change this eventually, so let's take care of it now. Like all of the wire covers, like I knew that we'd have to get those put up and in place, especially the ones in the back that we did. I was like, that's not gonna fly over with premium. I was like, we have to have good chairs, we have to have good tables, trash cans, all of that. Like it has to be just premium, and that's what we did. Like the chairs and the tables are like the things that I am the most proud about as far as everything that I had my hands in ordering because the chairs I made sure that they were like extra cushioned, extra wide because there's the common thing with gamers is that we're bigger people. I don't know if I can say I'm a bigger person anymore because I've lost a lot of weight, but I used to be a bigger person, so I knew these struggles. But I wanted to make sure that we had chairs that one weren't going to break because I've seen many foldable chairs in my time just collapse under people just for sitting in them. And I wanted to make sure we had sturdy chairs and that they were comfortable to sit in because I want my players to want to come to my store to hang out, and I want them to stay from open to close. Because the longer you have your players in your store, the potential for them to spend more money is there. And I mean, while I want that, that's not my end goal. I mean, it is, but like, it's not what I want my
Yeah,
players to do.
I want you to enjoy your time here,
Yeah.
and it just so happens to help my business while
Exactly.
you're here.
But I wanted to make sure that my customers are comfortable because if you come in and you're playing in an 8 hour tournament and you're having to sit in like a white foldable chair, those plastic ones, they're not comfortable. I don't know about you, but I'm really bony as a person, and after like an hour or two of sitting in chairs like that, they were uncomfortable.
Right.
They were just ungodly. I'd rather stand than sit. That I wanted to make sure that my chairs didn't have that, and we've done a really good job to make sure that. And I wanted to make sure that my tables were big enough for people to play on and were aesthetically pleasing as well and sturdy.
Yeah, they have plenty of space. They're very spacious,
Yeah.
and but also they are very sturdy. So yeah, I think as far as the setup here, it's it's perfect. And like as you built upon the aesthetic, I think it's just going to be, like I said, it's going to contribute to that whole vibe that you're building,
Yeah.
and but also have that utility that you're
Hmm.
looking for. So, but that's really awesome to hear, man. I hope to hear from you. You let me know that if you get that premium,
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
that'll be awesome to find
We
out.
will definitely make a post about that if we get it.
Yeah. So discussing, we kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but so mostly just magic, right? Like
Hmm.
that's the main thing that kind of drew you into this.
Yeah.
You kind of already went down the path of like you worked in, previous stores. You've worked in and around the industry a long time. So in lieu of that, I wanted to ask how successful would you rate the different things that you guys do? So like, if you were to give it like an A through D rating, like what do you see just here in Arkansas, like as being like some of your top sellers? Is it mostly Magic, or do you have like a lot of Pokemon stuff going on too? Do you have a lot of success in all aspects of it, or
Yeah, I mean, Magic is definitely like our bread and butter. I think 40% of our monthly sales is Magic, maybe a little bit more, but that it's definitely like Magic singles. Like I mean, with my collection getting absorbed, it's
right,
definitely like one of the biggest, and like not as biggest as in quantity, but biggest as in like high value items.
right,
I think in this area, and then we sell a lot of sealed product like booster packs and boxes for Magic. So a lot of that is our higher end sales for the month. And then Pokemon is definitely comes in second. It's like 20-30% of what we do is from
wow,
there. And then from that it's like I think 5% is board games or so, and then it's just miscellaneous stuff from that, event entries, whatnot.
that's pretty interesting. I was not aware. Like I I'm a big fan of like the Pokemon games. I
Yeah.
played the Pokemon. Like I just got back into it actually after being out of it for a very, very long time. Uh, I got into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet
Yeah.
and Pokemon Arceus, one of the
Oh, that game
best
was great.
Pokemon games of all time.
Yeah.
Use that more, Nintendo. Um, but so it was my first time kind of dipping back in since Pearl. Like
Yeah.
I've been out of it for a long time.
I think I've
Um,
played in every Pokemon game that's ever come out.
really.
I'm the type to like I gotta buy the new console. I gotta play it.
Right. And see, and for me, I think I kind of transitioned over to the like more home console like
Mm,
PlayStation
yeah.
and then I kind of started to drift away from it a little bit. Not that I ever disliked it, but I do remember being a little bit weirded out by some of the newer gen Pokemon and being like, I don't really like the aesthetic of it anymore.
Yeah, I get
It
that.
got very soft and very rounded, and I remembered like the sharper, like I really liked. I think Emerald probably still holds
Oh
the
yeah.
peak, and I know gameplay wise it is nowhere near the peak of Pokemon, but um, for the longest time, Emerald was my favorite. But Arceus is really
Oh
good.
yeah.
Sorry, we got a little bit off track there, but we'll kind of jump back in.
It's still a little on track. It's
Yeah,
Pokemon. It's Pokemon.
it's similar. You know, we're talking in the vein of you know, just gaming in general, but I thought it was interesting because I've never been super big into the Pokemon card game, so
Mhm.
it is kind of surprising to me that there's still such a big following
Oh yeah,
for the
there's a
card
big
game.
following. Like
Yeah.
once a month we have our league challenge events. I think that's what they're called. And where it's like a bigger event, you know, there's like points and stuff like that. I'm probably getting information wrong because I don't focus that in on it. But we had like 30, 40 people come in
Dang.
for that because like you accumulate points, and then if you get enough points you get an invite to like worlds, I believe is
Wow.
what it is. So like people are really, you know, adamant on getting those because I think worlds this year was in Hawaii, and
Ooh.
we had, I know we had one person from our locals go. I don't know if we had any more than that, or if we
Is
did
that like their all of their stuff is paid for, except for like food, or do they still have to like pay for
that
their
I
own?
don't know. I
Okay.
don't think they are paid for.
Okay.
But
But
I'm
at
not
least
sure
you're
on that.
able to
Yeah,
enter
you at least
into
get an invite. I know you get an invite, but I don't think every your entry might be paid for,
right
but I don't think like hotel
or
and stuff
anything
like
like that.
that.
Yeah.
I think you have to cover those expenses. At least that's how you do it in Magic. So
Gotcha.
I don't know as far as Pokemon goes, but I would assume so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I just found that very interesting because for me, I mean, like as I said, when it came to card games and tabletop, like Yu-Gi-Oh was where I was mostly at. I there was a simplicity to it, but it could once again, whenever the newer stuff started being implemented, like synchro summons and stuff
Yeah.
like that, that's where I kind of started to wane and fall out of it. I still like if we were to go back to just old Yu-Gi-Oh rules and old
Just
duel
attacking with blue
monsters,
eyes.
yeah, yeah, and you know, and an occasional really cool trap card that fits a specific niche, and those things just happen to align rather than I can on my one turn summon 4 monsters to the field, and like you need to be able to work for that, not do that on your first
Yeah.
turn, you
The
know?
thing that got me with Yu-Gi-Oh, because I don't know anything about the card game at all. I've watched a lot of my players like play the game, and it goes over my head. I try to keep up with things, but I know Magic. That's pretty much it. But it's finding out that the TV show and the card game are like two different things.
Right, they very much are. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, they are playing dual monsters, but they have their own rules. They have
Yeah,
like things that just don't make sense, and
yeah.
like,
It
yeah.
it makes sense why there are no text on the cards in this show
Yeah, because
because
you'd be
they
like,
yeah,
that's not even remotely how that
like I
works.
thought Karibo was like overpowered in the card game, but like that card's just awful apparently. I don't know, man.
I mean, there are things you can do with it, but no, it's not. It's not like the show made it.
Yeah.
Um, but so, man, like the same as my last time, I should have revised this because a lot of the stuff that I kind of had planned for the middle section, we've already kind of answered. It's like what kind of brought you to this path. You know, you kind of told me how you got into magic when you were younger. Um, any previous experience you've had, 12 years of experience, but also what makes you want to do this. I think kind of self-explanatory. You're
Yeah.
doing what you love. You're doing something that you enjoy consistently, and also making money at it. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the American dream. I think that's what that's called.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah, I mean, whenever I first started playing this game, like I never thought that it would turn into me owning a business around it. Like that just kind of blows my mind a little. Like I've always enjoyed the game. It's been a good hobby. I never thought it would be what's paying my bills at the
right.
end of the day.
And I think, like I said, think that's a little something called the American dream.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that you're able to succeed in that retrospect. But one thing that we can touch upon is if there you could go back to younger you know, let yourself know that hey, this is something that's going to be happening. Uh, here's what you can do to prepare for it that I didn't.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that you would go back to yourself?
I would have bought more magic cards. I mean, I remember when I first started playing, there's a card called Gaia's Cradle. It's on what's called the reserve list. The reserve list is a subsection of cards that they, as a company, Wizards, promised they would never reprint again. Which in the early days, I think was the correct call because it was to secure value. Because with reprints and stuff like that, players were worried that their cards that were worth hundreds of dollars would just be worth, $10 at the end of the day. So like players and collectors, investors were kind of getting worried with all these reprints. And so they in turn made the reserve list, um, which it put cards from Alpha to Urza's block on there that they would never reprint. It was mainly just rares. And it wasn't every rare. It was just like I think there's like 40 to 100 cards, I don't know, on this list. Uh, and those cards have only ever gone up in value immensely because we're never going to get them, which I'm not a fan of the reserve list. I want to play the game. I don't want to hoard it.
Right.
And these cards are virtually inaccessible because I mean, we haven't gotten, it's been over 20 years since any of these cards were printed in any real vein. I think early 2000, maybe like 98 was like the last time these cards were printed. So like they're just very inaccessible. They are very expensive and they're just hard to find. But when I first started playing, there's a card called Gaia's Cradle. And I remember at Galaxy Games, there was one in the case, and I think it was selling for like 50 to $80, which feels like a lot of money. But nowadays, like a good condition Gaia's Cradle sells for close to $1,000. So if I could go back, I would tell myself, hey, buy these up. You're missing out. Buy this set, keep it sealed, don't open it. This will be worth $1,000 in just a couple of years. Like buying up, don't trade this product, don't get rid of this, hoard this. that's pretty much the only real advice I would give to myself. But I think I did a pretty good job of it overall because I didn't get rid of magic cards,
Right.
and that's one thing I'm really proud of myself because I saw a lot of my friends be like, oh, I need bill money, I got to sell my deck, I gotta, I want to buy a new TV, I want to go to vacation, like I'm gonna just sell my deck, and I can always buy it back, which like yeah you can, but you're not always going to buy it back.
Right.
And that's just, you're losing money, a lot of money that way. So like, I'm really proud that when I needed money, I found alternative routes to do that and just kept my
Dealt
card.
with your little suffrages
Yes.
in order to
Yeah.
keep
I'm
your
so glad I did it because I saw so many friends do that. And I was like, I'm never doing that. Like this just financially doesn't make a lot of sense. So, I mean, it turns out it worked,
right.
like, so that's definitely, I'd say what I'd do.
Yeah. And I think that can still speak to people in other like areas as well. Like if there's something you really enjoy doing and it takes you time to accumulate it
Yep.
and money to accumulate it, there is probably at least some form of intrinsic value in
Yep.
it. So if this is something that you truly enjoy and can see you know being a part of your life for the rest of your life, hold on to it,
Yeah.
and be willing to go that extra mile to make sure that you can hold on to it. And if you see a good deal, for me especially, I am awful, or I should say I have luck, because anytime I say the word, it's like it comes back to bite me. But like I'll come across something that's like perfect, exactly what I need, exactly what I want, but maybe I need I would prefer having a little bit more money in my bank account before I
Yeah.
buy it. And then payday comes and whatever it is gone. It could be the next day.
Yep.
And I've had that happen so much in my life that a lot of times now it's fueled an unhealthy impulse buying mentality. But man, I get terrified if this specific thing that I really, really want goes away, I may never be able to get it again.
Yeah.
But because it has happened. And so, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it
No,
can,
I
it
understand
can be
that.
unhealthy, but if it's something that you actually believe in your heart of hearts that you're going to uh, want to be a piece of you and come with you and uh, hold on to for a long time, for better purposes, maybe down the road, then sometimes make that impulse buy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I've told a lot of my players that are contemplating selling XYZ. It's like if you truly enjoy the game, you're never really out. Like I've seen people who will sell out because they're bored or whatever, and then they're back at it like, oh, did you see the spoiler? Did you see this event? Oh, hey, I kind of want to build this deck, and I'm like, you're never out. If you truly enjoy the game, no matter what game, not just Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Star Wars
I
Unlimited,
think
Lore Combat,
gaming in general,
gaming in
yeah.
general. If you truly enjoy it, you're never out.
Yeah.
So like sometimes it's nice to have that $3,000 from that, selling your collection. Other times it's like, well, that $3,000 turns into six if you want to rebuy everything
Right.
or more.
Yeah, and not to mention that, like later on down the line, as you've proven, it's turned into something else entirely.
Yeah.
So, from starting at a young age, if there's something you enjoy in life, I guess the advice there would be to continue to love it and continue to grow with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't be anything. Maybe it'll just be a side hobby that you have that's you've accumulated, and then later on down the line, you need, instead of getting a loan, you can sell it for like $10,000. But otherwise, at least you've built up something that
Hmm.
$150,000 that that ended up helping you in the long run and
Yeah,
opening.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So, all right, let's see. What can we move on to now? So, and this might be a little bit harder for you to answer simply because it's coming from I know that you're not really the one that's handling the finances as much. Uh but when it comes to like the business, how do you go about getting the supplies you need to stock the shelves? Um, how do you make sure that those turn into a profit? Like, do you buy them at a lower retail value in bulk, and then like upsell it by a little bit to make your profit
Yeah.
margin? And you know, anything like that? Like, how do you make sure that the items that you're putting on the shelves are turning you a profit.
Yeah. So we currently have three distributors. We have Squishables. We have Southern Hobby, which is our that's where like 80% of our reorders comes from, and then we have Asmodee. Those are our three big distributors we use. Squishables will I think we're on our second restock. Like I ordered some really big ones that were like closer to the $50 range, which I should have done that. I should have gotten the smaller ones. So my girlfriend told me, just don't get the big ones or get a couple. And I was like, no, I'll just get all the big ones. It's fine. They'll sell. They didn't. That was my mistake. I should have listened to her on that one. But so we've ordered from them twice now in our 6 months. But I think we were like 2-3 months in before we got our first order from them. Southern Hobby is our, like I said, our main distributor. That's, I mean, I would say probably 80. Oh, we also have Games Workshop. But Southern Hobby is where we do like, yeah, like I said, probably 80% of our restocks. That's where we get like all of our Magic sealed product, whether it's packs or boxes. That's where we get primarily, not Asmodee's our board games, but we do get a lot of board games through Southern Hobby. Southern Hobby is where we do all of our pre-release items for Pokemon, Lorcana, Magic. We get stuff for Star Wars Unlimited. We also get stuff from Star Wars Unlimited from Asmodee. That's where we got like our paints from Southern Hobby as well. So yeah, Southern Hobby is pretty much what we use. It's a really good distributor. Our rep is amazing. All of our reps are like really good, but our Southern Hobby rep really goes out of his way to help us. Um, and we spent a lot of money through them, so I would hope so, because
Yeah.
I think they get like a commission on what their people order through them. But typically, though, with a distributor, you're looking to make 40%, 30 to 40% is like the rough average you're looking to make from the items you buy through them. So we get them at wholesale. And then we upcharge a little. And we have a little bit more liberties with certain items. Like I think our Magic and Pokemon, our margins are a little bit lower. But I mean, if we sold, which Magic doesn't have an MSRP anymore, Pokemon
Right.
does. But if we sold at what we should sell them at, this product wouldn't sell. I mean, we sell our Play Boosters, which is the new booster box type for Magic. If we sell them at $150, which is like a pretty good price. But if we sold it at what we should sell it, because I think we're making like 22% margin on those, I think it'd be closer to like $200. And people you're not going to spend $200 on a standard booster box,
Right.
unless that was like the going rate everywhere.
Right.
But that's not the case.
Yeah, you'd have to you gotta be competitive.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's not just competitive, but like you also got to keep your customers in mind.
Right.
Like, yeah, if our prices are higher than anyone else, yeah, they're going to go somewhere else. But also like if I was a player, like for 36 booster packs, I don't want to spend $200 on just a normal standard box. If it was like a master set or something limited print run, sure, $200, that's fine. But for your just average standards, no one's buying
Yeah,
that.
no one wants to spend an obscene amount of money for not a good amount
Yeah.
or quality of product.
Especially when like your return of investment is not going to be $200.
Right.
Like if you could crack a $200 box and make 250 every time, yeah, you're doing that. But if you spend $200 and you walk away with like $50, I mean, that's just that. Like, and granted, it's random, it's variable.
Yeah,
like you're not always
it's RNG, but
yeah,
at the same time, like you're taking in a lot of factors into consideration. So that's absolutely understandable. Uh, quick question
Mhm.
on the distributor side. How did you, and if you know, how did you go about getting in touch with those distributors? Did you already have that knowledge from working with the previous companies? So you
Yeah.
already had those
Yeah,
contacts
it was
lined up?
already like I didn't have like contacts like people that worked there, but I was already familiar with those companies, Games Workshop, Asmodee, Southern Hobby, just with previous experience. So I knew like to contact them and where to go to. So I already had that, like especially with our POS system. Like I already had previous experience with that. Like we use Binder as far as our that's what the program is called, Binder POS. We use that for our POS software, and that tracks like our inventory quantities. That's how we log our store credit accounts, and I'm also able to make events in that software as well that we can publish and post out. And then we have Binder integrated with Shopify, which is like where we inventory everything, and that's where we really make everything at. And that's kind of like the admin panel of it. But I saw that those two work together really well, so that's what I implemented with us going forward. So like we definitely had like a high edge, not only with my experience, but like Trevor also was
The
familiar with a lot
combined.
of this stuff too. So like we knew what we were getting into before we even signed paperwork,
Gotcha.
which would helped us out a lot.
Yeah. And so with the meeting of those companies, like how did you go about like asking them if they would be, a supplier for you, and just, how did you open those negotiations?
It was actually pretty easy. They all have like forms that you have to fill out. You had to submit like all your paperwork, your tax ID forms, and all of that. Remington mainly handled a lot of that stuff.
Gotcha.
But it's just a paperwork you have to fill. It wasn't hard. Like I think he got me all the documentations I needed, but I filled out all the like it was like your address, show your business license. Like it wasn't really that hard.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think reason I ask is, people who are wanting to start up a business, they they may not know who to go to and who to ask,
Yeah.
if they need to get some kind of advisor to kind of lead them through the process. But I think it's important to know, like, you can just reach out to these companies,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
and
Southern Hobby is definitely my favorite. I think it's one of the better ones that I've seen as far as like distributors go. But the one thing since COVID that a lot of these distributors have like locked down on is that you have to have like a physical location before you can get set up. Because used to you could get set up, you didn't have to have a physical location. But then after COVID, a lot of backpack sellers started to become more rampant. People are trying to scalp and stuff like that. So they locked down to where you have to just have a physical location. Well, I think that's the right call, honestly.
right,
Because like it'd be nice to just be able to like buy it wholesale and flip, out of my
right.
backpack.
And
But
then you have no uh overhead you're having to worry about. You're not worrying about
yeah,
electric, you're not worrying about all these things. But then, is that really a fair deal, especially whenever, these people then probably have more money to spend
yeah,
specifically just on the product, and can then try and flip the product. Oh, I can deliver it to you. I can
yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah,
and then maybe upcharge for that. But now you're also taking away from this community that you're building, where
yep,
it's like, come to us, meet more people, build this community. So I think, like you said, sounds like the right call to me.
yeah.
Um, so this is a little bit similar to another question that I asked, but is there anything as a current store owner that you would tell others to prepare them for the navigation of day to day, whether that's finances, whether that's keeping up with inventory, whether that's um, like what would you do and tell to someone, hey, I'm fixing to set up shop. What is some things I should be thinking about whenever I buy a location? Like,
Hmm.
I think we've discussed that before. Like, look, you said location is
Oh
extremely
yeah,
important.
location is very important. Like we did a lot of shopping around in from Bentonville all the way down here to Springdale as far as like locations go. Like we originally were trying to aim for the shopping center where Barnes and Noble is in Rogers. But I guess the guy who owns that is like some rich guy in Florida that using it as a tax write-off. Like they told us that because we found a really good venue back there, but they told us it was going to be like a 9 month turnaround. And I was like, we don't have 9 months, 3 months or whatever, fine, but 9 months? Like, because at that point, we were really wanting to be open by December, which that got pushed back a lot. That was due to our bathroom. Like, we were waiting on
uh,
whatever it's called, the paperwork done to get
to
our bathroom
officially.
approved. We were waiting on that, which was kind of frustrating because that was literally all we were waiting on. Like the build out, because we didn't have a terrible amount of stuff needed to be done. Like we raised the storage room wall to the ceiling, and then we had a second bathroom put in place because with this many people or room for this many people, we have to have a minimum of two bathrooms. So that was our biggest holdup. But we wanted to be open up by December, but that didn't happen. But 9 months was just way too long to wait on. But we found this place, and I mean, there's just so much to do. Like there's like a kids karate place like on the other side. There's like a cowboy boot store. There's a Hobby Lobby. There's a lot of good food.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Oh,
food
there's a
around here.
lot of food. I mean, there's Chick-fil-A, there's a Taco Bell, there's a McDonald's all within like a 5 minute drive. In the same shopping center, we have a Slim's Chicken and a Cracker Barrel. And then
Isn't there JJ's
yeah,
nearby too?
yeah, there's a JJ's, which like if you want, sit down, good quality food, JJ's is where to go. That place is great. There was a Big Chicken behind us, but they recently closed, which they haven't even been open a year. But so that was kind of funny. But no, like the food, you want to make sure that like you've got food near you. You want to make sure that the parking's good. Like I've seen stores where there's like five parking spots in the front, and then there's a gravel road in the back that you have to secretly park back in. And then, so you want parking, you want food, you want to make sure that there are other things around you, like attractions that are already people or bringing people into your location. And once those people are in, they're going to see your store and be
And
like, "Hey, what's that?"
curiosity. Yeah,
Because I've had a
let
lot
the
of people walk
curiosity
in and be
take
like,
over.
"What is this?
Yeah.
What do y'all do?" And so you definitely want that aspect.
What percentage of people would you say walk in here having no idea what this place is?
I would say like probably it averages about 5 to 10% of our floor traffic every day is people that just didn't know what this was. There are like another probably 5% is people that knew this was a game store but didn't know we were here.
Where you
Maybe,
were?
maybe a little bit more. I not something like I'm not good with numbers.
But no, I get it.
Yeah,
But it's not an insignificant
yeah,
amount though.
yeah. It
Like,
definitely adds up.
and talk about parking. You've got plenty
Oh,
of parking out here. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do around here
yeah,
too. So I can imagine if the moons align, that everything could happen all at once to make parking a little bit more hectic.
yeah.
But for the most part, it's a really good amount of
We
parking
we
with
haven't had an issue yet with parking, but that doesn't mean it won't
it
be an
won't
issue.
ever, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good that it hasn't happened yet. And like I said, with how much is out there, I could see it. It would be really hard pressed to not
Oh
find
yeah.
parking. It, almost impossible. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying that maybe if all the stars aligned perfectly,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
would you still wouldn't be struggling though.
Which is
Most
good.
people would get here just fine. If you have like a big tournament and then a bunch of other stuff going on, maybe one or two people might be unfortunate enough to not
Yeah.
have to, but then they're still going to find somewhere.
Yeah,
It's
there's
such a
still like
big,
and there's enough like shaded area to walk like under through so you're not like directly in the heat because it is very hot outside right now.
yeah, it is. It is cooking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Feel like we're in a frying skillet, but
Yeah.
it is nice in here. I will say that.
Oh yeah,
So
we try to keep it cool.
that's nice. Trying to think if there's anything else I can think of. Whenever discussing the place, like, did you work mostly in hand with realtors? Like, did you just kind of look for places online? Like, how did you come to find about the different locations that were available to rent out or um, possibly
Yeah.
purchase or anything like
We
that?
actually had a realtor help us with all that. Another guy that's pretty involved in the magic community.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He helped us out.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that you get to meet a lot of people and make a lot of connections with magic. There's a lot of people that get
It
involved.
is crazy looking before I got into magic and seeing my friend group and the people I hung out with then and looking at the people I hang out with now. Almost, I wouldn't say almost every person I hang out with now that's not like family, it's because of magic in some like form or context. Like I would attribute everyone after the store is because of magic, even if they don't play magic. It's magic got us here. Like I mean, like Uh, Yeah, I mean, like I've got my best friend Josie, and like there's Aaron and his brother Jordan, and like my girlfriend weren't directly because of Magic, though all four of those people got into Magic. Like Aaron, Josie, and Aaron got into Magic because I was really heavily involved in it, and they wanted to get into it so that they could beat me. They wanted to take the fun from this game that I enjoyed away from me.
But then like they end up having fun and you end
Yeah,
up creating a connection and a bond over
yeah,
that and yeah, so it's yeah, yeah, like I've said, I've seen especially, and it's such a varied universe and a varied uh so many people are drawn to it and then
yeah.
like people I never like I know my older brother was super into it for a while and I know that like I'll meet someone and they'll be talking about magic. Me who knows almost nothing about magic, I'll just be like, dang,
Yeah.
like the amount of time and investment that one has to have. Like for me, Yu-Gi-Oh was really simple, and so until it wasn't,
Yeah.
and that's when I kind of dipped out. And so seeing magic from afar, I'm like, oh,
Magic's a pretty complicated game, or at least it can. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays Yu-Gi-Oh!
it's
is more
probably more
complicated,
complicated.
but
Yeah,
Magic is definitely up there. Like there's a lot of like rules and things you got to know about the game and stuff like that, like sequencing and stuff. But as far as like the community goes, like I have worked like really on a personal level. I have worked really hard to quell a lot of like shop drama and stuff like that. Like before I was even involved in any of the stores, like there used to be like people who were like hard loyal to a store, which like there's nothing wrong with being loyal,
right,
but like to the point where they would scrutinize other people for going to other shops or being loyal to this shop or going here or you know whatever. And I have worked really hard to quell all of that as I can, which I think I've done a really good job at it. Because there'd be shops that would like schedule over other shops' events to try to drag players away from that and offer better price support and lower entry, which like there's nothing wrong with doing those things. But if you're doing it to intentionally harm another store's tournament or event, like if it's unintentional, that's fine. I'm not talking about people who are doing that.
right,
But if you were going out of your way to do that, just being harmful, not trying to, benefit the community. Because like as a player, I want to play in as much events as I physically can. But if you're doing two shops are having their same event on the same day, that's not like I said, a
right.
pre-release. Like it's you're just pulling from everyone.
It's tribalism. It's
Yeah,
that tribalistic nature
yeah.
appealing to that, and um, while it can be successful for some people, I think at the end of the day, it almost always just
You're
pulls stuff down.
you're gonna
It
lose
doesn't,
players by doing that.
yeah, it doesn't build the
It
community. It
doesn't.
just tears it down.
And like if like for instance if we don't have a certain item like we ran out or just don't carry it, I'll pull them over to Games Explosion and be like, hey, we're out of that. Games Explosion might have it. If they don't have it, then try Gear in Fayetteville. There's Gear Bentonville. There's Chaos Games in Lowell's, and I'll be like, these stores, try these places. If I don't have it, don't wait for me to get it because I might not get it. And I don't want you to go without. And so, like, I want to help other stores in this area because if I'm, like I said previously, if I'm going to talk that I'm for the community, I have to show it.
Right.
And I'll push players to other stores events. I'll push them for product. Like I help promote other stores events too. Like if I see something that looks cool on Facebook, I'll share it. It's not like a whole lot, but it's something.
Right.
And I want all of us to be successful because there's enough people, there's enough players. If we had 70 for our pre-release and all these other stores had 30 for theirs, there's enough players in this area that all of us can be successful.
Right.
And that's what at the end of the day I want. Like obviously I want us to do really good, but
Not at the expense of
not at the
dragging
expense
the
of it. Yeah,
entire
yeah.
community
As long
down.
as everyone is being helpful, we all benefit. And like I push, like I said, I push everyone to all the other stores. I don't want there to be any animosity or negative feelings or anything like that. Because, like I said, I've worked really hard to quell that. I don't want to start that up again. Like whenever I make my bigger events, I always will pull up all the other shops in this area, up to 2 hours even away from us, and be like, are they doing anything on these days for any type of event that this would conflict? If they're not scheduling their events, I did all I could.
Right.
Like if they're not, posting their stuff on
Announcing it
Facebook,
and
If they're not doing all that, I'm doing my due diligence at the end of the day. And that's what matters to me, is that I'm making sure I'm not overlapping. Like, there was an event we did at the beginning of this month that overlapped with another store, which was unfortunate, but we're also like an hour away from each other, so it wasn't the end of the world. We both got good attendance, but I posted my event out like a month prior to when they did, which, like, whatever, it's fine. If people aren't doing that, I don't have any issue. I'm at least doing my due diligence, and that's what I care about. But we both did good. It wasn't the end of the world,
Yeah.
So, like, if it
Yeah.
happens, it happens.
And I think it's different. Like if you saw that becoming a regular trend
Yes,
too,
yeah,
like that's a much different thing. But yeah, I think your approach to it is fair and nuanced and good. Like that's the kind of thing I wish we could see in more
yeah,
communities and more just everyday life is a consistent effort to try and bring each other up rather than I want to succeed in this dog eat dog world,
yeah.
so I'm going to tear everything else down along the way. So I'm really appreciative of that kind of outlook, regardless of if it's a community I'm involved in or not. It's
Hmm.
good to know that I'm sure for anyone watching who is into Magic, that you're contributing to a more positive light in the community. So. Um, I don't think I have any other big questions, but I do want to open the floor to you if there's anything else you'd like to talk about before we go. And then after that, you can also do any plugs if you got any big events coming up, anything like
Okay,
that, as
yeah,
well as websites. And you can tell them here and also send them to us later, and we'll
yeah.
post them.
So as far as our website goes, it's just finalbossgames.com, and then our Facebook page is Final Boss Games. As far as big events go, trade nights once a month for Pokemon. Uh, that's usually this. I want to say it's the second Saturday of every month, but I'm a little uninformed at the moment.
Well, like I said, you
Yeah.
can definitely send us the information. We'll
Yeah.
try and keep that updated.
Yeah, we have our weekly schedule posted on our Facebook too. We try to update that as well. We have like a picture that's pinned, so
Okay,
that has all of our
absolutely.
weekly events on that.
Yeah, and so you can definitely send us the link to that, and
Sure.
we'll definitely post that. Also, because through the power of editing, I should know whether you've gotten premium or not. So
Sure.
right now I'll be like, "Yay, he got premium," or "Boo, no
Yeah.
premium." So unfortunately, he has not heard back whether he has is going to get to go premium yet. So it hasn't happened yet, but some people from the actual organization have come out and checked it out and had nothing but glowing and positive stuff to say. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll get there soon. Anyways, back to it. So we'll insert whichever, whichever
That's fair. That's fair.
but yeah, I really hope that you do get it, and we'll see in the future. But yeah, I appreciate you
Yeah.
taking this time, man. We've been talking with Bennett Mosteller. I really appreciate you redoing this interview with me.
Hmm.
I I butchered it last time with the audio. Hopefully, it sounds a lot better this time, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks.